Welcome to the Veterans Who Build show. Today's guest, we have an IDF Special Forces operator who continued his career in the government sector for both the embassy and as an assistant defense attaché, later turned real estate lawyer, later turned PropTech founder and CEO. We have so much awesome information, insight, and perspective on this episode that I am very excited for y'all to hear. To our subscribers, thank you very much for subscribing to our channels. To our listeners, a reminder to please subscribe, like, comment on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. A quick shout out to our sponsors, Jet.Build. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Maor Cohen. Thank you to our channel sponsors, Jet.Build. If you're looking for ways to better manage your real estate development and construction projects, look no further. Jet is the command center software for end-to-end real estate development and construction management. That's www.jet.build. Welcome everyone to the Veterans Who Build show. Today I am very excited for this episode. Happen to have a longtime personal friend here with us, Maor Cohen. Maor, what is up, man? How you doing? Where are you calling in from?
Hey, how are you, buddy? I'm from New York, Manhattan, Upper East Side currently. How about yourself?
Right on. Yeah, today I'm calling in from St. Louis. Really excited for you to join us, and I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your story, man.
For sure, 100%. I wouldn't.
Awesome. All right, so quick introduction to Maor. Maor is an IDF's Special Operations veteran, a lawyer, and now a founder and CEO of a property management software, PickSpace, and a father of 2.5 kids, half being, he's got one on the way. Congratulations, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of
Absolutely.
challenges, right?
Totally. I'm sure it is. All right, man. So to kick things off, we like to go in chronological order. So we'll start with childhood, where you're from, where you grew up, and kind of what led you to, serving in the unit that you ended up in, right? What was the motivating factors?
100%. So, yeah, if we go all the way back, usually in these days when someone asks you, like, tell me your background, it always starts from the army. Usually it doesn't,
Right.
people don't ask all the way back, but I will go all the way back because maybe it's relevant, right? In order to know what happened in the military, you need to know what happened before that. Yeah, I grew up in Israel in a small village called Kashmonaim. It was actually a mixture of Israelis, of course, it's in Israel, and Jewish American that came from either New York, Chicago, and Miami to the Israel. So basically they did Aliyah and now they want to be part of what's going on, but they really want to still capture their traditions or their games, everything. So when they came the baseball, baseball culture, basketball, people speak English in the streets. So it was a nice mix of Israeli American community. So I, as a kid, I grew up there and I played baseball, believe it or not. So I was in the Israeli national team in baseball. We flew to Europe to play against other countries. So growing up in Israel with American, community, it was a lot of fun and also fruitful for me. I learned a lot. And now that I'm in New York, I have a lot of flashbacks to that, to childhood. So it's interesting. When I thought about like what led, so in our place, a lot of people were very, Zionistics and people like and do meaningful service during military, right? So I grew up with it. With when your surrounding is there, you learn, you capture, you have all the values around you. And I grew up wanted to be and do something meaningful for my country. And one of the ways to express, meaningful things that you can actually contribute to the country is a meaningful service in the
Hmm.
IDF. And I chose to go forward, to take it, one step forward. And I did a small research about, like, different units, what's interesting, what's the best one, what's elite units looks like, what does it take from you in order to actually do something. And I think the surrounding, the environment, the community, and my family, my brothers that served, in elite unit also, and
Mm.
it all together led me to decide that I really want to take a meaningful part in that
Hmm.
aspect. And then, of course, physically, I had, luckily and fortunately, I had the ability to actually do that. So I applied and went well. I ended up in a very good unit that allowed me to contribute a lot.
Awesome, man. So, what it sounds like, and for some context for, our listeners, so in Israel, the IDF is a draft country, so everyone is required. However, you, of course, are not required to enlist into a, special operations unit, which is what Maor was explaining. And, what was an interesting takeaway, especially with you ending up in New York and kind of creating this like comparable one, of course, that baseball similarity of dynamic, to being that kind of melting pot scenario, right? Where in that community you grew up in Israel, it sounds like you had a lot of internationals mixed into the local communities, such as New York City, right? I mean, it's just people from all over the world. So pretty interesting to see you end up in New York City in the end there.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'll add one more thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
sport, and in particularly competitive sport, I think add a lot of
Mm-hmm.
to character, and it brings you the persistent, the dedication, the reliability, and the accountability. Everything that you learn as a team member, to be part of a group, to work together, to win, to capture, success. I think it's a lot of what you need in order to become a better combat soldier, or a better entrepreneur down the road. So I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this things starts from early age. So, I'll give my tips and advice later, but one thing, if we look at, childhood period, is being part of a team, being part of a league or competitive sport, that adds a lot to a kid or to a personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. It's really interesting. I hear that pretty often in the sense of, transitioning from sports into military career and having those kind of comparables or takeaways and how that, kind of pushes one to do more in their service, just because of that similar mentality, similar, being a civilian and a kid, nonetheless, a similar mentality. And I would suggest, particularly in your case, something that, I missed in your introduction. Otherwise, I would have added it, which is you were a national player for baseball, nonetheless. Before we continue, I wanted to ask what was your position? What did you play?
I played pitcher. I was the,
Nice,
first pitcher, and when I gave someone else the pitch, I was shortstop.
awesome. Out of curiosity, just a sidebar here. Any shoulder issues with that?
Well, that's actually funny. No, I was pretty,
Wow.
pretty solid. I didn't had anything, but nowadays I do feel my shoulder a little bit, and now
Mm.
you gave an idea maybe why, but no, I don't think it's related.
Right, right. I mean, I would suggest, that typical, military injuries that you walk away with. I was curious if you were aware of anything because of pitching, especially because, I think of myself throwing a ball consistently right now, and if I'm not warm enough, I mean, shoulder's gonna be talking to me for a minute.
Fine. somehow I
All right,
skipped that.
glad to hear it, man. That's good. That's a great news. All right, awesome. So, walk us through to the extent that you want to, kind of the process of, I'll say, being accepted into your unit, right? Talk to us about what that was like. Feel free to go into as much or as little details as you feel comfortable with.
So I'm not sure how people like, they know about the process in Israel, but around the age of 16, you need to start thinking about if you want to do something extra or to get to more special units in the military. So you need to start thinking about it and apply as it's voluntary, right? So people need to apply to, to get to certain places, type of units, and then start to apply when to initial tasks that they used to do. It's on the field, you go, it's more physically, and then they test you also on the IQ side. And if you pass these things, you move forward. It's like a step by step. For the elite unit, of course, they have another task that it's not only like 1 to 2 days and a few IQ questions. It's more like one-on-ones, and then you have also a full week of being outside, being on the field, and do a lot of different tasks from individual to a group and team. And if you ended up in the 1/10 or 20 percentile, you ended up in that unit. And then that's only the start of actually getting into the unit.
Hmm.
You still go through 18 months of training, which everyone can be kicked out during that 18 months, right? It's still selective, so it's still a process through
Hmm.
that process. And every day you learn something new. Every week you improve, and it's divided to different sections, like the first four months, and then the 3 months that comes on top of that. And then on top of it, you learn different type of skills, leadership, navigation, different features that every combat soldiers need to know. And then, and specifically more towards what they want you to actually do in the day-to-day once training period is done. So I was very lucky to be with amazing group of people and to get drafted to, it's called Dovdevan. It's an undercover unit inside the IDF. For whoever watched FIDF series on
Hmm.
Netflix, so kind of highlighting some of the things they been through. It's interesting, very interesting service, very meaningful. You get to do a lot of interesting things. You get to learn about a lot of things that you didn't know before, and to meet perfect, amazing people throughout the journey there. So
Yeah, awesome walkthrough in that process. Do you have any, just top of mind stories or experiences that were, kind of stick with you or that were meaningful in particular? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, so just if something comes up.
yeah, no worries. So yeah, I remember it was one of the initial tasks. They asked the group to just hang on a metal thing there, and stay there, close your eyes. You don't know, right? They say
Hmm.
close your eyes, don't open until you can't hold it anymore. And that was one of the tests, right? So I was
Hmm.
I was so scared that I would be the first one to fall down. So I just kept holding it, and holding it. And apparently people, like, some fall after 10 seconds, some after 1 minute, some after like 5 minutes, and a few last for more than 10 minutes. And I was like, stayed there for 25 minutes while everyone were waiting for me to like open my eyes, and I was like, I can't leave. No, I won't leave it. Like, no matter what, I can't be the first one to fall down. And once I eventually opened my eyes, left my grip, and I saw everyone, okay, thanks God, thank God that you like decide to give up. That's it. We're all waiting for you. And
That's
that
great.
was
That's a great story. It's really interesting, and I'll kind of touch on uh, or at least one of the elements, in my opinion, the more difficult part of doing something like that is the unknown, right? It's the psychological unknown, and I would suggest that was like the purpose. Great to see that you not only kind of won that purpose. I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting that kind of an outcome. That's a great
yeah.
story. Awesome, man. So through your service itself, same kind of a question. If you have any kind of like particular stories or highlights of, I don't know, circumstances that were maybe a big accomplishment, maybe a difficult moment that you came through, anything that kind of comes to mind that you'd like to share.
So I remember, in one of the cases, we needed to capture one of the terrorists that led a few terror attacks against civilians. And, usually they're hiding, so it's not always easy to capture. But in that day, he had his pre-wedding celebration, and so we knew that he might be there, right? It's his pre-wedding celebration. So we prepared to come and capture the guy. We really, like, all hands were on how we're gonna do it, like the safest, most careful way to not harm anyone. So we can take the guy and see if about future terror attacks that are planned. And I remember we got there very quietly. No one knew that we're there. And then we heard the party and people like, happy. And eventually someone from the inside saw us, and we saw, like, things moving within the house. So he tried to jump from the window, right? He knew that we're there. He needs to run away. He tried to jump. He was with his weapon on him. And one of my team actually, needed to respond. He fall inside the house. So now we knew that this is the guy. He identified him. We knew the person. He was with a weapon on him, trying to either attack or run away and see what's going on. And we were in a very difficult situation because the doctor, we always have like someone from the medic side within us, within the team. So he was like asking them to bring him out so we can take care of him. But the family was like, "What do you mean? No, but you don't understand. We want to take care of him." So they ended up believing us, and they literally gave him to us. And I remember myself, I was like literally taking some actions, and the doctor with me, I was assigned to that doctor immediately, and I literally breathed the guy. Like, I literally kept him alive, while the doctor adding some things to his neck and adding some things, and I needed to bring air to his lungs through the pipe. And I remember, like, it's a crazy world when you don't want to do anything bad to anyone. You just want to make sure that no one wants to, no one can actually destroy you just because who you are, right? And there are a lot of people that so you have that dedication, you have the ability to do things that you think, I would never do that by myself. But yes, with my team, with a group of people that I trust, with morals that I trust. So yes, I'll do things to continue the continuance of my people. So it's interesting. I think it's a story that shows a lot of things within it, because you're playing so many different angles in one situation, and it shows that, of course, anyone that wants only to harm someone would just skip one, right? Skip one press. But no, that's not the reason we're there. It's the reason we're there is to keep, people safe, and we'll do no more than that.
Wow, man, that's an unbelievable story. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna presume that the outcome was an arrest in the end.
Yes, the guy, we literally, we managed to save the guy life, and we took him in an airplane, in a helicopter, off that stage, and we took him to the hospital. We managed to stabilize him, and of course the inner shabak, I'm not sure how it's called within the military, thing on. Shabak was taking him to investigation, understanding who is behind the actual terror attacks, and they managed to capture them as well.
Well, that's an unbelievable story. Thank you for sharing that. What is the workup for something like that? What is the preparedness process? Like how many days? How intense?
So in our unit, it's very, fast. Things happen really fast. You're always prepared. You always have your things on. You know the cities, the field. You know the only thing that you don't know is the actual person that you're about to go and get, and where it's going to be precisely. But since you already know the whole environment, the roads to everywhere, the know-how, your team, so it's not a lot of preparation because everything is already known. It's just one element that's missing. And we usually, since we know everything and the whole picture is, for us, as you said in the beginning, some things are difficult for someone else, but for us, we already have the whole picture. Right? Like, we just need to know the picture. We don't even need to know his name. We need to see a picture. We need to know the initial location, because location is something that changes also as you go towards the place. So location is not a must. You just need the initial location and the picture of the guy. Name is an add-on. But yes, it's happened relatively quickly. Usually you train a little bit, make sure that you know how to work together in order to make it very short and effective. And then you head out.
Yeah, so it sounds like preparedness is a just general state, and then once a mission pops up, an assignment pops up, then those balance of pieces get plugged into that general preparedness, and off you go.
Exactly. So, exactly.
Yeah, well, awesome story. So, walk us through at this point on kind of the back end of your service, right? Like, what does that look like in terms of, finishing, discharging? What happens next?
So I remember before I finished the service, so like a lot of friends were like, okay, what should we do now? Like, we already we're very good at one thing. Should we stay in the military? Should we move on? If we move on, what should we do? And you start basically learning about yourself. What do I like to do? What's interesting for me? What are my strengths? Am I strong in math, chemistry? If I like whatever it is, like, you start to learn more about yourself. And I remember in the beginning, people come to you with offers for whatever skills you have so far, right? So what are your skills so far? So far, you know how to fight, you know how to protect, you know how to be security guy, like, certain things. But it doesn't mean that this is all what you know, or that is all you will know, right? So some people just chose okay, let me just go for a trip for a few months and then decide what to do. And some people got offers and took them. And sometimes when you take the offer too early, you miss the ability to open yourself for new things that you might like or love. And of course they come with offers because you came from elite unit. It's already say a lot about you, about your dedication, about your ability to work with with a team, about your morals, about your, accountability.
Mhm.
A lot of people wants to take you off the bat just to have you in their organization, but it's before you even know what you really want to do, because you weren't exposed to the bigger world. So I was one of them. Like, I was one of the people that actually took an initial offer, without thinking, okay, what do I love to do, right? And I took an offer. I went to be as part of the security company in a Jewish community in Berlin, in Germany. So I was there with 20 other team members protecting the Jewish community in Germany, in Berlin. I knew everything right off the bat, right? Everything was known. Just the location was a different thing. But know how to use weapon, know how to, the team members were in similar units. So everything was known. I felt very comfortable. I studied German pretty quickly. And then during the time being there, I was like, okay, now that I have a little bit more time to think about it, what do I love to do? What is that I really want in life? And so just to add another tip is, as we talk in between, so I think it's good to take a little pause, a little trip, go travel, see places, think what you like to do. Not always what you did so far is what you have to do from here forward, right? Sometimes you just need to stay still, think, what do I want to do? Because opportunities will always come. But in order to take the right one, you need to prepare the area for it. So just a tip, take a breath, take a breath, see, think, and then the right opportunity will come to you.
Great advice. I mean, that should be pretty broad advice to anyone transitioning between periods of life, especially those transitioning from, something as extreme as military to civilian. Is just take a pause, take a minute, think about, what you're good at, maybe reference what you liked as a kid, reference, what you think you're good at, test things, try things. So I absolutely agree. Don't necessarily jump to your next commitment without having that moment of, realizing what you really want to do. That said, it does sound like in some ways, and I got to ask you this in a second, it does sound like in some ways that transition to like private security is kind of like a nice segue from, military security then onwards. Did you feel that way in any regard?
And I think one of the things that we had every day during the service is adrenaline, right? You had it every day and in good amount, right? So it's something that I didn't want to lose, in a sense.
Right.
Being, armed in a different country, being there, being prepared for something to happen, being, ready and be there for other people. It's something that felt very comfortable for me. Like I wouldn't want to miss it. Like if I would go straight from the military to sit in a university class, I don't think I would be able to do it right away, right? It would be boring, too uninteresting. So I'm happy for me that I took that route. Gave me the time to, change it atmosphere, still have the adrenaline, still have, the preparation phase. So for me, it worked. But I'm just in general, I think, people that has all the skills to be combat soldiers or veterans, they have other abilities to do other things as well. So they just need to, take a moment, understand that this is what they want to do, and then do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you highlighted what I think is one of the kind of core characteristics that make it difficult in these transition phases, which is adrenaline, right? I mean, you're going from this extreme adrenaline rush almost at a completely consistent basis to zero, right? If you're going from military to just civilian, regular, anything, happens to be that in your experience, it kind of was a step down, a drop off, which that's what I was noting in terms of like a nice segue, which worked for you. Nonetheless, it's good to take a pause and, perhaps
Yeah,
just recognize that that's what's happening.
I agree. 100%.
So something I was laughing at, and I forgot to ask at my, when I asked that last question, which is, if I heard you correctly, you picked up speaking German.
Yeah, ich kann
Nice.
nicht nur Deutsch sprechen.
That's amazing. How long did that take? What was that like?
So in the beginning, since it was like a lot of sitting around and
Mm.
being buildings that related to the Jewish community in Germany, so I had a lot of time, right? So I just started to study words, different words. In the beginning, I couldn't even say them, and slowly capturing more words. Someone told me, if you know 1,000 words, you know how to speak. That was my goal. So every day I studied 40 new words. In less than 6 months, I was like speaking.
Wow.
And then after a year, I decided to actually take it one step further, and I actually signed up for a school. And I was already in a good level, but I sharpened it. And when I finished, I could literally go to study in German in the
Wow.
university. So I got to a good level, but it just, again, like everything in life, you need to put some effort, time, and dedication.
Nonetheless, that's really impressive, and I'm sure that added to the experience of being there, right? Which is to be able to speak the language where you were living. So very cool.
It's also funny because you can hear what they say on you. So they
True.
wouldn't
True.
expect. You're like,
Right.
now I know what they think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could go in secretively and understand, whereas they might think you're a tourist or whatnot. That's really funny.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about, just generally speaking, how that experience was and how that, ended, how that finished, and where did you go from there?
So during my time in Germany, like I enjoyed it a lot, and then someone from the Israeli embassy recruited me, like kind of hunted me, and took me to be the assistant of the military defense force. It's called the attaché. Being with him all day, meeting a lot of other military representatives from different countries. So we're on a daily, was like a big conference for a whole year. Every day you meet different people. Every day there is at least one event, because 200 countries. Every day there are different things. The Independency Day of Austria, and then Independency Day of Berlin, and then you have all the things that you need to do in between. So we were in a lot of international events representing Israel, and also working very closely to improve the relationship between Israeli military and the German. And there are a lot of cooperations. So it's really, really interesting. I learned a lot. And he actually wanted me to stay, but my head was like already, okay, let's start studying, and I wanted to pursue my law degree, and potentially thought about like maybe go towards politics one day, but then I switched after finishing law. So I went back to Israel, studied law. One of the reasons of me coming back to Israel was also getting an impact scholarship from FIDF. They were like calling me, hey, we got a scholarship for you. You were a combat soldier, and we appreciate what you did. We want you to get that scholarship. And I said, and decide, okay, that's my time. I need to go back. They limited for like, you get the scholarship 4 years after you finish. So it's like, okay, that's exactly, it works for me. I was 3 years out. I'll go back, I'll start my study and get also the scholarship. And that's what I did. And joined college, and not college, like university in a sense, but it's called the College of Management in Israel. Did there my law degree, and also I did my business and marketing degree. And then on top of it, I did the master in law, LLB.
Mm.
So yeah, it was very interesting. During that time, I couldn't do only study as to opposed to the adrenaline side. So I led an entrepreneurship community, international entrepreneurship community. I raised money from the head of the president of the university, and led a 100 students community inside the college, and led 10 of them to the US, meeting with Center of Entrepreneurship in MIT, NYU, Columbia, Princeton. So it was really interesting. And then I took them also to Berlin. So I stayed also always in doing and making, creating new stuff. So it wasn't boring. It was very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does not sound boring. I'm gonna call you out for being too humble. Where we chatted before we got started. On the recording, we were chatting about your introduction, and I already pushed you to add some things, and I'm seeing I missed a handful of more things. One was being on the national baseball team. Two, now that I hear, is the attaché in Germany for Israel, and then three is a few more degrees that I didn't know about. So that's amazing. That's a really nice experience. And you touched on kind of that adrenaline element sticking with you, hence being very active in every kind of endeavor that you pursued. Is there anything else that comes to mind? And it's fine to say no, and we can move on if no. Anything else that comes to mind through that period of going to Germany, then Germany back to Israel, that you recall as it relates to kind of transitions or things that stuck with you that you give yourself advice to do better now?
And no, I think we covered most of them. And I
Awesome.
think we covered most of them.
Yeah, right on. So let's keep moving. So what happens? Finish. Sounds like you're finishing up with these several degrees. What happens next?
I finished the degrees. I started working in a law firm in Israel. It was actually a law firm, very, prestige law firm. I thought in the beginning I'll go to work in a more government political job, but then I decided to choose the business side. I didn't like the way things are in the government value wise, and I saw a lot of dirt that I didn't want to be part of it. All the different politics that I just thought maybe it's not for me. I didn't like it, and I thought business world has a little bit. I don't know if it sounds weird, but it has better values in a lot of sense. So I chose to stick there, and I told to myself, if I want to contribute to other people, I can do it also from nonprofit or from other places, not necessarily from politics itself. So I chose business, started working in a law firm, and we're a lot in litigation and real estate. And on the real estate side, I worked very closely with a big property management company, and I was fortunate enough to see everything from the inside, all the things, all the gaps, all the manual work, complications that they had in order to deliver their product, which is appropriate rentals for other people. And I saw a big gap, and I had also a background of lover and problem solver, and I thought maybe we can build a better product that can help property management companies to actually do more. And it was the beginning of co-working back then, WeWork and a lot of these stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe we can find a niche where we can add more to that industry. And everybody knew WeWork back then, but no one knew all the others. I was like, if we can group all of them and offer to everyone a place where they can book a meeting room, because everyone were like meeting in coffee shops only and stuff. Maybe a place where they can work a little bit more efficient. So I decided to start PickSpace, which stands for Pick Your Space, and gathered a lot of co-working spaces from around the world, including WeWork. And this is our initial offering, like that. Come, see all the options, choose the best one for you, and pick it by the hour, day, month, or a year. Pick your space. And people, came on, they booked things like, flew so fast. And before we noticed, we were on Shark Tank Israel. We got an investment from one of the sharks and decided, okay, let's grow bigger and let's move to the US and let's see what else they need. And all the co-working spaces were like, okay, now that you're funded, maybe you can help us solve other problems that we have. We need to manage the tenants after they join, not only to get them as leads. To get them as leads, we know already. Can you help us manage it? Yes, we added a feature here, a feature there, a feature here, and then became a B2B SaaS software as a service for co-working spaces. And from there, we had a few more steps as we developed ourselves to become property management software, not only to co-working, also to property management companies in the commercial and residential world.
That's an awesome story, man. I always really appreciate hearing people coming from the space, working in the space, recognizing where things are just not efficient, not working well, not existent, and then just solving for those problems that they experience. So I always love highlighting that. And that's really awesome that you got kind of I'll call it exposure or fame of the Shark Tank there in Israel and won it. Leading you to here. What was that? What was that experience like? I'm presuming that means you were also on TV.
Yeah, we were on TV. I was on TV. It was a night without sleep, I remember. And before that, what I'm gonna say, how it's gonna be. I don't know the shark because it was like the first time, the first episode of a new season. And I remember I was like, they showed me the sharks like 5 minutes before, and I was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Okay, all of them are great. I'm gonna point to this guy. And the guy that I pointed at, like I had him in mind, that was the guy that invested.
Amazing.
It was a good story. Eventually they show you on the show only like 5 minutes that you're standing there, but they don't tell you that they cut you into pieces for like a full hour asking you questions and want to know everything, and you need to get the decision right away. Like, no, you can't leave the room unless you give us the final answer. Are you taking it or not?
Wow.
So yeah, the people see only
Wow.
5.
That's so
Or
funny, man.
that's it.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Like, you're sweating your ass there, asking what's going on, like how is you gonna do this and how you're gonna do that, and tell me a little bit more about your background. And I want to know. They want to know everything in like 1 hour, and then eventually you have 5 minutes of broadcast pitch.
Man, that's so funny. I never thought about that. Where anything that we as the viewer are seeing is just a super reduced version of what someone pitching, is experiencing. Did you end up with at least like the raw copy of your whole pitch, or not even?
Oh, that's actually a good question. No, I never. You know what? I met this week in New York the producer of that, like the guy that actually chose me to be one of the pitchers. And maybe I can ask him.
I'm sure that'd be awesome to see. Even, I mean, one, I'm sure it would just be funny to look back on, but two, I'm also sure you could kind of like learn, what was your mindset and kind of where you are today. It's always cool to see how, for founders, how kind of the mentality and the evolution of like the product and the pitch occurs. So if you could grab that, that'd be cool to see. I mean, even if you have, I'm sure the aired version, right, that 5-minute version, that would be cool to look back on.
I remember, like, I watched many episodes of the US Shark Tank, and I looked like constantly, why or what did the one that actually got an investment, what did they do different during the pitch? And one thing I noticed, all of them was were printing something and then hand it over to the judge.
Wow.
And so I was like, I have to print something.
Wow.
Whatever it will be, I'll need to print something small. And when I start, I'll go and I'll give it to them. And that's what I did. So I
Wow.
print something small that tells them about PickSpace, like something that they can open like a little book. And when I just arrived, I went to them like one by one, one small thing that I want you to have before I start my pitch. I like gave it to them and then went back to my position. So something in that, you know, it breaks the ice, right?
Totally.
You cross the line. You cross the
Yeah.
line. With them, you're not afraid. You give them what you want to give them, and then you go, you pitch, but now they have you. Now they're reading. It's not only what you say, they can feel it, they can hold it, they can read it during you speak. So I think that was one thing that changed a little bit to break the ice. You know, if you believe in what you do, they're shocked, but they're not gonna bite you, right?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing that you figured that pattern out. And I would suggest, just on like a kind of like a general perspective of what I took away from that, is whatever it is that you're doing, unless you're inventing the vehicle before vehicles existed, right? So pretty much everything exists already at this point. Figure out what was successful and how, and in that capacity of what was successful and how, think about how you could apply that to you or what you're doing, for your business or for your life. And that's really what you did, right? You figured out who was winning, applied it, used it, and that was the outcome. You won as well. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. Never thought about
So
it that way. Yeah, you capture it.
awesome. So in this process, right, we're in the business now. You're in New York. I want to see. I know you touched on a few pointers as we were talking, but I want to see if anything in particular, or even if you'd like to repeat these translatable skills, military to business life. Go ahead with that.
So I would say persistence. It's something that, you know, start with you when you're even in a, baseball team or anything. Everything that you do consistently helps you to become a better businessman, I believe. Everything that if you know how to take responsibility and to be accountable and to have that determination, and also in a sense, you have that responsibility to think about what you want to do and actually do things to approach it. Because when you're a CEO or when you're an entrepreneur, no one really tells you what to do, right? You need to think, you need to motivate yourself, and you need to move towards the goal that you want. But the initial accountability or dedication or responsibility comes from you. So it's something that you'll catch during the military. And it's one of the values they working on with you. Like, you need to get up and run, every day if you wanna be ready for whenever you need to really using it, right? So you learn a lot about how to make things the right way, and I think you gain a lot of values as persistent and traits, as dedication and work hard, play hard. A lot of different traits that you capture, and then you use it. You just implement them in your day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, regardless of what you do in your military experience, you're going to come away with at least some version of all of those traits, right? So that's very applicable to everyone. And, it's just encouraging to think about where it doesn't matter, what your, enlistment was, what your experience was in the military, and it doesn't matter where you're going professionally. Those are translatable, kind of just critical elements to how you can function on your day to day to be a good business person, be a good educator, be a good doctor, be a good whatever field that you're in. That's
Exactly.
certainly translatable. Yeah, and it's encouraging to just recognize and talk about and think about how it suits you and how it applies to you in your journey. So Well said, man. That's awesome. So
Exactly.
I want to, yeah.
That one more thing about the core
Mm-hmm,
values,
please.
like when you're in special units or in the military, it's something that you really work on. It's core values, and it's something that usually you don't really talk about it in your
Mm-hmm.
day to day when you go to school or when you go to, but in the military, it's something that people actually and your commander are really working on it, like integrity, honesty, you know, uh, quality, how to deliver, how to how to do things, how to focus on the impact. So these are things and traits that usually you just capture them from either
Mm-hmm.
home places, but in special units, they actually working on it. What does it mean? Honesty. What does it mean? Reliability, accountability. Who is like, I remember one, for example, accountability. Just a story from military, the beginning of the military. So we were outside in the field, and someone said, a group of people, the commander said, hey, I want 2 lines of this in 30 seconds, go. And then everybody did that. And then like in 5 minutes, I want 5 pens here, all the way, that way, 5 minutes, go. And we're like, people running around like, ants, and everybody wants to do one different things, and like everybody shouting like, hey, someone help me with this. So I need someone here. Someone comes, please. I need to do this and that. Please give me that. And after 5 minutes, of course, we didn't finish to build all the tents, right? And I remember my commander is called everyone, and he said, I want you guys to dig a big hole here, a grave, so-called, right? And we dug. We eventually we had a nice hole in the in the field, and he said, "You know what we're gonna do now?" No one knew. He said, "We're gonna bury someone. I don't want to hear someone. There is no someone. If you want someone to do something, say his name. Don't run around and say, hey, someone helps me with this, someone help me with that." Accountability. Everyone needs to know what they're doing. If you want things to happen, don't run around and say someone. If you don't find anyone, you go and do it. So that's something I remember from the military that related to accountability, for example.
I love that you pointed out two things. One, before the story, it was just generally speaking that we don't necessarily recognize or talk about these values that get ingrained in us. So to talk about it and recognize it allows us to kind of carry them with us forward, right? So it's really important to have that moment of recognition and to just talk about it generally speaking, because why not? They're amazing traits and values that we end up learning. And then second, on the story that you just said, another theme that I'm hearing from veterans, and I think it's a really important one, and a really I don't know, it's a sticking point with me personally, which is to say, exactly as you pointed out, right? If you need help with something, then call out what you need help with in particular. If there's no one else to help you to do that thing, or you're not sure who can help you to do that thing, then you tackle it yourself, right? You take care of it, because if you don't, then no one will. It won't change. Why would it, right? So that's a great piece that you called out. I'm really happy that you did. I always love hearing when other vets and just people in general just talk about that accountability portion as it relates to you and what you can do if you just really address that, right? Really accept the fact that you can be accountable. Awesome, man. Awesome point. All right, so moving on, I want to give you a chance to, as we kind of wrap up our show today, I want to give you a chance to call out any career wins that come to mind.
Be more specific. What do you mean clear wins? Clear wins
Oh, sorry,
on
career wins.
career wins. So yeah, I love my career path so far. It's not straightforward. It gave me a lot of different loops that I could take throughout the road. The path that I chose hit COVID right in the face. So I had a, you know, face-to-face crash with COVID and the business I decided to develop, and I needed to move quickly. Maybe another element that we learn in the military, that you can prepare, but you always need to be ready for any change that might happen, right? And you need to be able to, change yourself, change the location, change the person, change the situation in order to complete the mission, right? So I had COVID. I developed a product for the co-working industry, and then the co-working industry died kind of in COVID for 2 years, and or just took a very long, dive in for 2 years until everything came back. But for a startup, it's a death penalty, right? Because you can't allow yourself to leave for 2 years. You don't have 2 years as a startup. You have one shot. So I needed to choose a different path, and then we started to really go more toward the quality management solution. So I think a career path was the ability that COVID is here to stay, and it will affect the business that we built. And if we want to actually overcome it, we need to pivot a little bit and don't be stuck on co-working, because that's the initial product we designed. We need to move to a more solid present industry, which is the property management company, right? Bigger, more solid, always there, always be there, always, and will be there. And we did that. So I take that as a win to overcome COVID from almost beatable situation, but we managed to cross that one and come back stronger, with a stronger product to a bigger market.
Wow, man, that's an amazing career win. And for anyone, it's tough to pivot anything, right? Everyone likes to continue doing what they are, used to doing, what they're accustomed to, what they like to do. And then especially so, I'd argue, right, that for an entrepreneur, for someone who's kind of built up this company, built up this idea for so long, to be able to recognize that pivot is a necessity given externalities, right? External situations, in this case, COVID. I mean, that's a really nice, that's a big accomplishment, a big career win. So congratulations for being able to recognize that and pivot. And I heard you say also a little bit, you touched on, I'll call it out, which is another military takeaway, right? Is that ability to, if you're not prepared for something, well, at a minimum, being able to address what is happening and then shift accordingly. So great call out. Yeah, absolutely, man. Last but not least, we got two final questions. You got to answer at least one of them. You can answer both of them. We got wellness practice and recommended books.
So I have a gym bug, so I go almost daily to the gym, but usually my hours are crazy. I go between 11 p.m. to 12 p.m.
Wow.
It's like weird, but the kids are falling asleep around 9-10, and before that it's crazy with work. So I find myself going between 11 to 12, also because they close the gym at 12, and it's in my building. I have around 1 hour a day where I can go, and that usually the hour. So that's my routine. I usually do picking up, chest, the regular things, right?
Weight training.
I'm just doing the gym, and a book. I actually put them here so you can be able to see them also. And so one of them is, not sure if you see, Principio.
Yeah.
And the other one is The Hard Thing About the Hard Things.
Yeah.
I believe some already read this one. This one is kind of secretive. So The Hard Thing About the Hard Things about startups, Ben Horowitz, talking about all the hard things, right? How to start a business, how to choose a partner, how to separate from a partner, how to sell your business, how to, a lot of things that people, they don't learn in school. And I think it's a good book to summarize it and gives it a little bit, even a funny way to to look at the situation. And brand SIBO, it's showing you that brands that being built and brands in general, they have secret sauce to them, and when you actually create the powerful, it's a powerful, placebo effect of brands. So when you wear something, let's say you wear Nike shoes, and it's one of the example in the book, you literally run faster. Like in your mind, if you're connected to the brand, you feel physically stronger because you're related to the brand. You wear certain glasses that you love, you feel that you look better. You wear a different type of suit, you feel you look nicer. Like, certain things. And I do believe in it. And in order to get to that level, you need to build a very good brand. And that's something that I'm constantly in every day on my desk, as how to build a brand that will empower property management companies to feel that they're better property management companies because they use our software and our brand. And that's something that we live on the day to day.
That's Hard Things. I think, at least very well known book. Definitely recommend that as well. That branding book, that sounds really interesting. And I mean, even as you were just saying it, right, repeating what you've read, I certainly agree with you. And those are great kind of means of understanding what the that purpose is. Which Nike, if you're wearing a certain thing, absolutely can understand that. I got to read that. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening in. Maor, thank you so much, man, for joining us, for sharing your story, for your time.
Thank you for bringing it together. Thank you for collecting the different minds of different people. I think that you're doing something amazing, and great success, and good luck. And I'm happy to hear that them.
Thanks so much, man. Everyone, Maor's information is LinkedIn, business, and 2 book recommendations are going to be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. A reminder to please subscribe and review our channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Last but not least, thank you to our sponsors, Jet.Build. We will see you all very soon. Thanks so much for listening in. Next time. Thank you to our channel sponsors, Jet.Build. If you're looking for ways to better manage your real estate development and construction projects, look no further. Jet is the command center software for end-to-end real estate development and construction management. That's www.jet.build.